Well, hello and welcome to Little State Big Voices with myself, Shahida. And oops, as you can see, my fabulous co-host is not with me this week. It's going to be me riding solo. I think I did a fabulous job, and so I just I can do it by myself again, but I lie because my girl is back.
Hey y'all, I am back. I'm back. I'm at about, I would say, I would put myself at about 85% to 100
Mhm.
of my normal. So I'm almost there. Still a little bit, can it's a chest thing that kind of lingered. I don't know if I've been sick this long since I had COVID.
Real, you sound. I can still hear it a little.
It's in there.
I
It's in
feel
there.
a lot of people. My youngest called me the other day in the emergency room. He has
Uh,
bronchitis. And so obviously a lot of I feel like a lot of chest and lung things is going around. Not COVID, but chest colds, bronchitis, and flu, of course. A lot of viral things. So I am glad to see that you are doing better.
I am. I am. I could not go outside all week last week, and it was a
Mhm,
problem for me.
mhm.
I was definitely pissed because I missed some great events last week.
Yeah. Yeah, and was it yeah, we had a couple of warm days last week, but then it got really cold, and then that wind really picked up. I mean, there's a tree in the back of my yard right now that just split.
I remember that night. I remember that super windy night, and girl, I was like, Lord, please let the shingles and stuff still be on the side of my house when I go outside tomorrow. Let them be on my roof, I should say.
Mhm. Very concerned.
Yeah, yeah. Thankfully, the house withstood the elements that day, but it was pretty windy. And I'm not like someone who's scared of lightning and thunder and wind, but all that rattling, I was like, I don't know if I like this.
I am not afraid of thunder. Even as loud as it is, I am petrified of lightning.
Mm.
I told you my house in Mississippi burned down from lightning.
No, I never heard this story.
Oh, really? That's why I ended up moving back home. I was
This is
happy.
breaking news. This is breaking news. Are you serious?
We were actually on vacation in Boston, and I used to live in this little small town, Foxworth, right outside of Columbia, Mississippi. And neighbors kind of, a mile and a half away on each side or whatever. And so that night it stormed and lightning hit the roof and it just burned all night long from the top to the bottom. And when I got back home, I had a chimney and nothing else.
Shahida, I've known you
I
for
just,
25 plus years, and
Mhm.
I've never heard this story.
Yeah.
We have done a podcast for 2 years, and I find out new things about you all the time, but I kind of like that. I'm like, it's like
My
I
mystery
learn
woman.
something new all the
It
time.
bur
I'm sorry that happened to
The
you.
only thing that survived the fire is on the fireplace was this little knickknack that we had gotten from Korea, but it was my mom's. And my mother said afterwards, she said, "See, you took that from my house and you wasn't supposed to." That was what.
Not mama adding insult to injury.
So I was like, yeah, that was the only thing. But yeah, got house burn. So when it's lightning, I love the show of it, but I'm tense all night long.
Okay, so you got to walk us through this. You can't just say, I went on vacation, came home, and it was nothing but a chimney and a Korean knickknack. Walk us through, like, did you know your house had caught on fire before you got back home?
Oh yeah, people called me
Okay.
the very next day because because once the rain had stopped, my neighbors are driving by and I had very close friends and they called me and I'll be honest, I was a little bit devastated, but then I was like within hours, I was like I had been so homesick for
Mm.
Boston and I did not see myself leaving Mississippi because I had just built this house and I'm like, I can't I'm only 2 years in. And when it burnt down, I was just like, this is it. This is my ticket. Give me my insurance money. Let me go back home. So it was a horrifying experience, but it wasn't to me. It wasn't to me. I
This
was
is this
happy.
is this is a crazy story, and honestly, because it happened because it's been over a decade, probably
Yeah.
over 15,
Oh, way,
because
yeah.
you've been in Rhode Island for 20 years, so it had to
25
be
years.
20 something years ago.
Mhm.
But that's wow. And the thing is that the way I'm thinking is this could be a storytelling thing. Like if you were to tell this story on stage, there's so many layers and
Oh,
elements to it. I
mhm.
could see this being on a stage like Ribs or The Moth
Oh,
storytelling because there's so much to it. It's like
oh,
the
there was a lot.
homesickness, the fire, like the resilience, and like you turning a tragedy because it was a tragedy. You built this
Mhm,
house, so you put so
mhm,
much into it,
mhm.
and then to turn around and find the silver lining. I'm like, oh my god, I'm throwing you into like somebody come get Shahida because she needs to
And
tell this
do a
story
month.
on stage.
Yeah, it was the only thing that I regretted, but even then, that wasn't a bad thing because I was just like, I lost so many, like, pictures of my children when they were little.
Yeah,
But at that time, you remember when people took pictures all the time, so many of my family members had the same pictures.
because you would get copies. You go to
Exactly,
CVS
right,
and you get free double prints.
yeah, so it wasn't I didn't lose as much, but I still lost a lot, but I was just happy to come back home, and I've never and it made me appreciate New England more. I said when I lived in Mississippi, there was 2 races there, black and white, and that was it.
Wow.
Now you go and it's a whole different story. You see a lot of Hispanics, a lot of, Indians from India. You see a lot of American Indians. You see much more. But then I told you about that time when my kids first saw a Chinese person.
No.
Because, we'd been in Mississippi. They were like 3 when we went. So they had been there for a very long time, but they only saw black and white. So one day we were at Walmart, and it was like about 8 o'clock at night, and some Chinese people that were going to the university, they were students going to the university, got out of a van. And when I say my little nigglets, my God, Chinese people, they started doing karate.
What?
So uncultured. Oh my god! I gotta
Oh,
get them back. I gotta get them back. And even when we came in to visit, I think that it was that summer we came to visit, and we had taken the bus, and we were over there where what is that? It wasn't what's that big? I think it was Kane Square or something like that. I can't remember exactly. Whatever it was, Spanish people on the bus. They were speaking Spanish. My kids were like,
well, I'm glad that
"Yeah,
I'm not glad your house burned down, but I'm glad that it brought you
yeah,
back here to us
I
because
am."
we wouldn't be doing this if you were still living in Mississippi.
I think I
Probably.
woulda ended up leaving. I think I woulda ended up leaving. I woulda just rented or just, took the loss or whatever, but that it burning was the catalyst I needed to have a little money in my pocket and come back home.
So I got a question for you. Do you still have the little Korean trinket?
No, I gave it to my mother. I don't know
You
if
gave it back to her because you felt like it was a bad omen.
did you see it in the house? You might have seen it in her
Does
house.
your mom still have it?
I think she does.
I almost feel like that is like some kind of good luck like
Mhm.
token because here's the other scenario that could happen. You could have been not on vacation and in your house when it
Yeah.
caught on fire. And that one little symbol of like it almost was like I would think it's a good luck charm.
It could be. I mean, like I said, everything worked the way it was supposed to work because again, I was on vacation. I don't even think I cried. And I'm a big, big crybaby. I don't even think I cried. I don't remember it.
This is what it is. I would say for the majority, because I try to not to speak for all Black women because we're not a monolith,
Mhm.
but this is a very much Black woman behavior. It's like, okay, you did the worst happened to me.
Mhm.
I'm gonna sulk for like a few minutes, but
Yep.
now we got to jump into action. And this is not even remotely the same.
Mhm.
But I would say it's my second car. It wasn't my first car. It was like say my second car. I got this like hoopty Ford Taurus. It
Mhm,
was a beater with the heater, and it gave me nothing but problems. And I
mhm,
was so broke in my so broke in my 20s.
mhm,
Young parent. I mean, I wasn't a single parent, but we were struggling.
mhm,
And I took my car to Jiffy Lube for an oil change. And when I left it in the morning, because I had to get on the bus to go to work, they were like, they called me or something, and they were saying, in addition to oil change, you need this, you need this, you need this. And I was like, I don't have money for that.
mhm, mhm,
When I something happened, I walked to back to the bus, or maybe I knew these things were wrong, but I knew I needed an oil change. Dropped the car off. Long story short, you know what happened? I dropped the car off, and they were going to do the things, and I was just like, I don't even know how I'm going to pay for this. As soon as I got to the bus stop, Shahida, this is not a lie. This really happened to me. This is Jiffy Lube on American Legion Highway. So I don't know if you remember where that is near McDonald's.
yeah, yeah,
And
'cause I used to live over there.
so where the grocery store is, there's like a bus stop right out in front on the sidewalk. I had
Mhm,
walked from Jiffy Lube to the bus stop,
uh-huh,
and I something like turn around, like turn back and look at Jiffy Lube. A plume of black smoke coming from the top of the Jiffy Lube. I was like, what is going on over there?
mhm,
I was like, that can't be good for the environment. Tell me why the Jiffy Lube caught on fire. So the sprinkler system went off. The
uh-huh.
car got damaged out, total loss. And I didn't have to worry about fixing it. And I got a check, girl. I was so happy. I was so happy. And, the
Mhm,
people at Jiffy Lube were trying to call around and be like, hey, we had this fire. The place is
mhm,
on fire. It's a total loss. And they were thinking that people were going to be upset about it. And
mhm,
I probably could have sued them. I didn't sue
mhm,
them. I just went through my insurance. Girl,
mhm.
I was so happy. I called Morel. I was like, our car got damaged in a fire. He was so like nervous. And I was like, what are you mad about? That car was the ruin of our bank account.
Now we got a new one coming.
And so it reminds me of that time that my
Yes,
car became a total loss in a fire. And it was just divine intervention. And
very, very
I
similar.
saw the silver lining.
Mhm. I think I've always been pretty good about feeling the pain of loss and then just saying, "You know what?" and moving on.
You gotta pivot. You
Yeah,
have
you do.
to.
And it's like I always say to myself, and I saw this in a movie, if everything is not all right in the end, then it's not the end. Something like that. I think it was like
Mhm.
the Marigold movie or something, whatever. But it's true. If it
That's a good
just
saying.
doesn't feel good, then that's not the end of the story. It has to be a happy ending no matter what.
Mhm.
And I kinda think that all the time. So that's how I kinda move.
And I always say it's a Shakespearean quote, "All is well that ends well."
Yep, I used to say that one
So
as well.
all the stuff you gotta go through to get as long as it turns up roses at the end, or at least there's a resolution,
Mhm.
all is well that ends well. It was tumultuous, but you got there. Now, I think that coping skills is something that so many people lack, and I think that's why we have this epidemic or this reprisal of serious mental health issues with people, is people have difficulty coping. They
Yeah.
have a lot of difficulty coping and seeing that, yes, something went
Mhm.
wrong, but you don't have to sit there and play victim. And sometimes you are truly a victim, but
Mhm.
you don't have to lean into the victim mentality.
Not for long. You just have because you have to feel the feelings. You
Yeah,
have
you do.
the hurt, you have to feel the loss, you have to feel the pain, you have to feel the feelings, but then you have to make a plan to get out of it
Mhm.
regardless. So the quote actually is everything will be okay in the end. If it's not okay, it's not the end.
I
And
like
that
that.
was I saw that in the movie, but I know it's a common quote, but yeah, that's how I pretty much so live my life.
Yeah, no, that's dope. I'm glad we went on this tangent because this was not what we said we were going to be talking about today. But I like it because I think more people need to figure these things out and just
Mhm,
see that something, even when the worst happens to you, and there's far worse that can happen, even than your house burning down or
mhm.
your car getting totaled or something like that. Even worse things. I mean, the unimaginable can happen, but you have to continue living.
Yeah.
That's just the bottom line. As long as you have breath in your lungs, you have to find a way to continue.
And let me not make it sound like I'm a Wonder Woman. My support system is rock solid.
That's that part.
I appreciate, my family, my parents especially, because I always know that I'm not alone. That's
Yeah.
that's just it. That, things look bad, but I also know that I have a team, with me of people, my aunts, my uncles, my cousins, so the support system has to be there. And if you don't have that support system, you go out and you find that, and hey, therapy is great too.
Yeah, absolutely. All those things.
All of those things.
So you mentioned going out and building your village, right? If you feel
Mhm.
like you don't have it. So we were actually just chatting a little bit about one of the things we did want to talk about, and that's about relocating or going to a new space and feeling like you don't have your people. So on social media, Shahida and I both saw someone posting that, they've been living in Rhode Island for what, how many years? I don't know how many years the person said they've been living here, but
Can I read it?
yeah, feel
I'm not
free.
gonna say the
Yes.
person's name. I'm not gonna say the
Yeah.
person's
Go
name or what
off.
the handle was, but it goes, "Rhode Island makes me feel so defeated and forgotten. I have no support here outside of my husband, no friends here, no creative community, even though I'm struggling to actively build one, and no sense of a village when it comes to my creativity. This place is whitewashed." I don't know if she meant whitewashed, but she typed whitewashed and washed the F out, and I'm over it. And then so people came in and they were telling her about certain groups that she could join. Sounds like she's in West Warwick
Mhm.
and she frequently comes to Providence and Pawtucket. So she's asking for information about she's been here 15 years. I think she came back and said that she was here 15 years. I've been here 16 years, so I'm extremely familiar with all of Rhode Island, however. Rhode Island is very cliquey, and a lot of times the environments are not welcoming of outsiders to any extent. So while I have explored, dipped and dabbled into several different creative communities here, none of them have felt like the right one. That's why I founded my own Black and Gathered. So she founded, I guess, something that she can call her own to meet people. But let's talk about her post.
So, first of all, I take offense when I see posts like this, when I see posts like this about Boston, and when I see posts like this about Providence and Rhode Island. And maybe I shouldn't be so sensitive about it because people are entitled to their opinions, right?
And their
But
feelings.
and their feelings. But I have been here for 7 years. We'll even we'll subtract 18 months to 24 months for the pandemic. So
Mhm.
let's say I've been really in here for about 5 years, right? I've met the most incredible people just by finding activities to go to, talking to people, engaging with people, and everyone's different. Everyone's not me, everyone's not this woman, but I I difficult to believe that that is the status quo when it comes to acceptance in Rhode Island, because I have not met one person in Rhode Island who snubbed their nose at me, who's made me feel unwelcome. And maybe it's the events I'm going to, maybe it's the creative circles I'm joining. If anything, I feel like if you can make it anywhere, you can make it in Rhode Island because it's a small pond and the connections are quicker and they run deeper. That's my opinion.
I tend to agree with what you're saying, especially about when you say it about Boston and Rhode Island. I don't know all of Rhode Island, so I've never been out in Warwick or West Warwick or anything, but I know as far as like the Providence and the surrounding communities there, I feel like, especially if you're a creative, there are so many different organizations, groups that you can join. There's always something for
Yeah.
creatives in Rhode Island. And in Boston, it reminded me of like growing up in Boston. And I got to be like in my 20s and my 30s, especially after I came back from Mississippi. And so many people would complain that there was nothing for Black people to do in in Boston. Well, what is it that you wanted to do? And then
Yeah.
who would ask that question, they would be like, I want to go to like, certain clubs. Well, we do have certain clubs, and we have certain clubs that are just geared towards, Black people. Are you going to those? Well, yeah, but it's not the aesthetic or the whatever. Well, we have that too. It really is just a block that I think a lot of people have, especially when you live someplace. Like, I'm 100% sure and will guarantee you that people who live in New York, there's going to be somebody that complains that there's nothing for them to do.
Because
That's
it's totally different. It's a totally different energy, totally different
not.
vibe. What I will say, and I don't know where this person came from, because that does
Yeah.
play a role, where
Mhm.
you came from. But I will say, obviously, it wasn't all that because you're not there. You're here for whatever reason. Could be from the husband, could be, I don't know what brought you to Rhode Island, but you moved here and now you got to make the best of it. But what I will say is that if you don't if you don't have it, you should build it, which is what this person appears to have tried to do. So I do applaud her for trying to build the thing, because it was like Toni Morrison and one of those authors said, if you can't find the book you want to read, you need to write it.
Mhm.
So I applaud her for taking that step and, branching out. But I will tell you, there's part of me that's not interested in even finding out what this person is doing because of the way they started the conversation, saying that Rhode Island makes you feel defeated. So what you're saying is that until you got here, we wasn't shit. That's what I'm getting.
Oh,
And I don't like it.
I get it. I get it. I don't, and I was gonna say the same thing in a different way, but my thing was, especially with threads or the internet or whatever, I feel like if you want to get some kind of recognition, shit on someplace, and then you'll get it.
It's
Be
trolling.
negative about something, and then you will get it. As far as like Rhode Island is concerned, for me, I lived here a good 15 years. Yeah, a good 15 years before I lived here. I
Mhm.
slept here,
Yeah.
didn't live here. And my kids have always lived here. My kids love Rhode Island. Even the one that don't live here no more. Love it because
Yeah.
they built up a community here, and they just love it. The people, they love the things to do, everything. They love it. But once I started working in Rhode Island and I started having work friends, then it became more like home to me. Even though I had very good neighbors, or whatever. Again, I was sleeping here. I wasn't socializing here. I was going to work 5 days a week in Boston. And then when I wasn't going to work, I was going for the weekend in Boston. I wasn't trying to find things to do here. Oh, I think that depending on where she's coming from again, but I also feel like you that it's a little bit trolling because then in the same breath, you promoted your little organization that you're trying to create. So you could have just started out with that.
But it's feeling very negative, Nelly, to me. I don't love it because I feel like the energy you brought to that post,
Mhm.
because here's the other piece, and here's why I'm gonna tell you it's trolling. It's 100% trolling. Because if you feel so defeated, you wouldn't have the energy to start your own thing. So instead of saying, I was inspired by
Yeah.
my feelings of XYZ,
Mhm.
you came out the bat just gunning for Rhode Island. It reminds me, there's a couple on one of the 90 Day shows. Do you remember Manon and Anthony on 90 Day? It's a French woman and she moved to the States for him. And
Oh,
then he ended up moving to
yeah.
France for her.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, go ahead.
So they moved back to France because they were,
Yeah.
having financial struggles or whatever. So they moved to this remote village in France because she wanted to be away from her family,
Mhm.
XYZ. Soon as she got to the town, all she did was whine and cry about being a stay-at-home mom
Mhm.
with her child because they switched roles. Before she was the breadwinner, now and the husband was the stay-at-home. In France, they reversed roles. So
Okay.
he went out and he was working. So she was crying that she was lonely. She was crying that there was nothing to do in the town. She went for a walk with her son and she was struggling to walk up some of the little hills because it's not exactly like an accessible area for someone who's not used to a lot of walking.
Wait, was she from France?
She's French. She's from France, but
So
she's
did she
from
pick the town?
girl, they picked she was the one that wanted to buy a house. all this stuff. She
That
harassed
don't
that
even make
man.
sense, but go
She
ahead.
harassed this man. He was like,
Mhm,
"Why don't we just rent an apartment till we figure it out?" She's like, "No." She had like her non-starters and her deal breakers, and she had to have a house. It had to
mhm,
be away from her parents. All these things, all this whole bucket list of
mhm,
things that she, or not bucket list, but her checklist of things she had to
mhm.
have. So on top of all this, they're interviewing her. She's saying how much she hates the town and there's nothing to do. It's trash. There's nothing but a chocolate shop. There's no industry, and there's only one car, so she
Wow.
has nothing to do. Just went off and just said the most horrible things about her new community, and then ran for office. That was what I'm getting to. She's talking about she's gonna run for office now. Girl, who's voting for you the way you were talking about that town? They
Yeah,
would be
just even
fooled.
yeah, they would be foolish to vote for her. But my thing is, you had all the power. You wanted to be away from your family. Did you not know about the town before you moved there? I can see him not knowing. He's not from France. You should have known. But
It's
that's on
like
another tangent. That was
It's
stupid.
like right, but it's like saying, okay, you and I grew up in Boston, you grew up in Mattapan area, Dorchester. I grew up in the South End, Roxbury, whatever. And then you moved to the Worcester of the 1990s or the
Mhm,
Springfield of the 90s. And then you look around and you're like, hold up.
mhm.
All you had to do was go look before you bought a whole house in the town.
Even though, let me tell you, Shahida loves some Springfield and Amherst. Lived there for
Yeah,
a year and a half. That's my spot. I love it. I love it out there.
right.
I love Western Mass.
But now it's, they're getting more built up, God forbid they're being a little gentrified. But back in the day, it wasn't like those were not the optimal living locations. Amherst maybe, but
Mhm.
Springfield, certain areas of Springfield were like,
Springfield is still pretty it's not where it should be. They still don't have the money that, would make it a very vibrant town,
but shout out to Springfield.
yeah, 'cause I
But it's just saying that you know enough of a name to be like, okay, let me go investigate
exactly.
before I buy a house. You're not renting, you're not subletting, you're not doing Airbnb. You bought this house that you had to have in this town that you didn't bother to.
Can I just say I did the same thing when I bought this house?
I
Didn't
did my
know.
research.
Did not, and I wish I had did more research. All I knew was that Southern Massachusetts was extremely expensive, and my coworker lived in North Providence. We were at Bank of America together, and he said, "Shahida, come look at North Providence. I'm telling you, you'll love it. I live not too far from where this house is for sale, blah, 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 blah." Saw the house. We all loved it, bought the house. Rich and his wife got married and they moved to Massachusetts. I said, "This SOB."
So let me tell you how much research I did before I moved here. So this is the third house we looked at. So it is only the third house we looked at, but I
Mhm.
knew immediately it was the house.
I think this was the
But
3rd one we looked at as well.
but before I put the offer in, I came back at night
Mhm.
because I wanted to see what the neighborhood was at nighttime.
Mhm, mhm.
I
Smart.
did research on all kinds of public health concerns about the
Mhm.
city of Providence. I looked at the insurance. I did so much research before putting my offer in on my house because I know the mortgage is 30 years. The expectation is I will probably be here for 30 years or at least half that time if I decide to, go into another home. But I knew I was going to be here long term. And there was no way I
Mm.
was going to put money on a house and be stuck in an area that I couldn't stomach or tolerate. So I was like, So I don't know what Manon was thinking when she bought this house in the countryside of France, but
You know the saying, "God looks out for fools and babies."
well,
Flew
I'm
here
glad
because
it
I
worked
didn't do
out.
any of that research.
It worked out, but I'm wondering about this social media persona that
Yeah.
we're talking about. They did mention, they're married and have a husband. So what do you and your husband do? Like, do you not have any couple friends? Do you not have one of you not have work friends? Somebody's bringing in income. If you live in you have to have something to sustain yourself. Somebody has to have a job. Like you're not meeting people on the job or you're not maybe going to the like a lit arts, like you suggested to this person. And I don't know what their craft is because there's
Yeah,
different kinds of art. So I know
exactly.
that the spoken word community is very beautiful here in Rhode Island. Like I always talk about Sarah and Rudy and Mr. Orange and all these wonderful people, Vladimir, who are so incredible and have received us so well, even though I'm not even really technically a spoken word artist. Even the love, Craig, Amaziah, the love that the love fest that is like the motif awards and all these different things. I feel like people are always pulling each other in, and
Mhm.
I see love there. Now, maybe this person's into music and they sing, and that's a different vibe, or they're an actor and that's a different vibe. I don't know what the art is. An artist, like a painter. RISD has all different kind of symposiums they put on. There's the Providence Art Club. There's the Trinity Rep, which to me is like one of the warmest groups of people. When we go to their stuff, they're so nice. I don't understand what this person's looking for and not getting. That's why, again, I feel like it's big trolling.
Okay, so I'm Jersey born, Philly raised, West African who grew up playing outside in my street, meeting my friends at the park, showing up and having our environment ensure of safety, our safety up until I was 18. I came out here. So, oh, okay, so she came out.
Ma'am, do
And
you
I have
can't
never wait, calm. And I have never been more disappointed at how little diversity and culture this state actually has. This is the whitest state ever. I don't care. I don't care. Not finished. In all my years here, I found Rhode Island to be extremely cliquey, to say the least. If you didn't go to high school, college, or work with people, you do not exist in this world. And because I value quality over quantity and many others don't, I've lost countless relationships along the way, and I'm okay with that. But then that leaves me here, alone and friendless to an extent. So to know I'm not alone in reality brings comfort and gives me hope. So let's connect.
Ma'am, you can't. First of all, I can go days without seeing a white person, and I live in Providence. And that's not hyperbole. I can go days without seeing a white person. I mean, of course, if I go to the grocery store, I go to Walmart, but on my street, in my area, I can go to 7-Eleven, not see any white people. I can go to any of the stores in my area. Not to mention, you can't throw a rock without hitting a West African in Providence. So you need to get out of West Warwick, honey. That's your problem.
Maybe, but she says she's here all the time is and
But where? Here where? Are
she said
you op
Providence and Pawtucket.
but are you on Hope Street? Because that could be your problem. If you're over on Hope Street, you're gonna see a lot of white people.
I know, but I love Hope Street.
It's cool, but if you wanna see black people, you gotta come to where we are. There's a huge Cape Verdean culture. That is West African. There's a ginormous Liberian community here, like big time Liberian community. Hang out over at Joro. Hang out over at Afrique Day Lounge.
Yeah, I mean,
It depends on what they're looking for. And when they say quality over quantity, it sounds like you're looking for bougie people, and you may not find many of them.
and I'm reading some of the responses as well. So I do hear this a lot. I do hear that Rhode Island, specifically Providence, is very cliquey. And I see it as well. They are cliquey, but my thing is I don't get into it, right? I don't get into anybody's like I don't talk to I'm not a big friend of this person because of whatever little drama that you are. I don't care. I need something from you and I need something from her.
Yeah.
We all gonna be friends. We don't have to be friends with each other, but I can be friends with you. And I feel like a lot of times when you're on the outside, you don't have to partake in all that clickiness because usually, I mean, her saying that if you don't go to college here or know people from college or work with people, then your social line is like just kind of just dead in the water there. I don't believe that. Again,
Well,
it's getting in where you fit in. There is a group for everybody here. What
Shahida,
energy are you bringing?
that's the question. Maybe you need some internal work is what I would say to this person, because guess who else didn't go to high school or college here? Guess who else didn't grow up knowing anybody here? Guess who else doesn't work with anybody in the state of Rhode Island? None of those boxes checked for me. And I have managed to make friends, and I could make even more friends if I wanted to even, be more into it. But I
And Tracy's
also
way more social than I am.
but as I get older, I'm not so much wanting I am like this woman where quality is more important than quantity as far as friendships. But I feel like I've made some really cool connections
Mhm.
just talking to people, just being on socials. Even when I share content from other creatives, like other influencers in Rhode Island, I would say 99% of the time I get an inbox saying thank you for sharing my post.
Mhm.
Thank you for coming to my event. If I show up in person, they are happy to see me.
Mhm.
So again, I think this person should maybe take a little bit of a step back and maybe evaluate themselves because I think it might be you, honey. I don't think it's Providence and I don't think it's Rhode Island. I think it might be you, sis.
Sometimes you have to step outside of your own negative thoughts, you
Yeah.
know? Just how, like, we were saying at the very beginning, how we don't let catastrophes define us.
Mhm.
Sometimes you have to step outside of your negativity and not let that define you either, because I know for, a long time, everybody kinda has their insecurities about certain things about themselves, and for whatever reason, that might be a problem when you go out to meet other people. So you
Yeah.
have to get over that hump. Like, are you going to a social event and then kinda just, like, standing there, afraid to approach people, and then also expecting people to approach you? I'm not a big approacher, but I've learned how to approach,
Mhm.
go and be friendly and reach out and then follow up afterwards if I want to make a connection. But it can't always be that I want something from you either. I want
Right.
something from you. So that is going to be our connection. And that, because people feel that as well. How genuine are you when you
Exactly.
are meeting people, around? Because again, in your post here, you're telling people to go follow you on your Instagram. And it seems like on your Instagram, you're trying to be a little bit of an influencer. You're having a a, a group that I haven't gone to the Instagram, so I don't know exactly what her group is about, but it seems like it is about for women to reach out, and then she is selling a product as well. So how genuine is that? So all these
Yeah.
people who have actually reached out to you and saying, "Oh, I'm here, I can be a friend and a resource." How are you gonna use that?
Right. Yeah, I don't like I don't like the way it was laid out. I just don't like the Rhode Island has me feeling so defeated. Not that you're not entitled to feel that way, and maybe the experiences you've had have made you feel that way. And I don't know if this person has children because I also
She has
sound
3 children.
Oh, you did mention that. So that's the other thing is like, are you not making any mom friends or is that the problem? Is the problem the mom friends that you're meeting? Because that could be it. And if you're living in West Warwick, most likely your kids are in school in that area. So that may be why you feel like you're surrounded by people who are not people of color because you moved to this again. Do your research before moving into a community. If you wanted to be around black people, maybe you should have bought your house around black people because we are here. Like my whole street is lined with this is a majority minority area that I live in Smith Hill. And
Mhm,
we do have like some Irish people. I see them raise their flag at the end of the street. There's another gentleman down further down the road who he actually repaired our refrigerator. He also lives on the street and he's Caucasian, but the great majority, but maybe this is not a desirable community for her. So you got to be introspective here
mhm,
and think about what roadblocks are you putting up to meeting
mhm,
people because you have this list of your perfect, organization. But again, just the energy with which it was kicked off, I don't see why I would want to even be in anything run by somebody like that who hates where they are. So
mhm,
you hate it here, but you're going to make it better? How?
mhm.
By doing what?
So, yeah, yeah, Black and Gathered, I'm not gonna say that because I don't wanna crap
Yeah.
on it. I want her to be successful and then find her people, but also you have to be introspective as well, Maybe we'll reach out and have her on the podcast and hear her point of view because we stated our opinion.
Yeah,
Like to hear her
definitely.
opinion.
And maybe I'm
I don't
wrong.
think it's valid, but, you
Maybe
know,
I'm misjudging
instinct.
and maybe I'm misjudging and misunderstanding. I would love to clear the air on that because I don't like, and also leave, right? Because, and I don't know if that's a thing, maybe you have a mortgage, but you can sell a house, you can
Mhm,
relocate. You don't have to be here as far
mhm.
as, I mean, no one's holding you here.
Right.
Maybe circumstances may make you want to stay or have to stay, but no, we have 50 states and countless other countries where you could be. You don't have to be here.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
True. So, I hope she finds her people.
me too. I don't think I'm one of them, but anyway.
It's been a long time, but I hope she finds her people and, if she's trying to create a business surrounded by people, so, good luck to her.
She
Anyway.
needs to hit up our girl Contessa. She's a life coach and she might be able to guide you.
This is true. This is very true. Yeah, she is actually pretty good and, yeah, you were quick on that one, girl. That's smart. Yeah, definitely
Another
reach out
person
to
I met,
Contessa.
I did not know. Shahida introduced me to Contessa, and I made my own connection with Contessa. I know a Contessa who's actually a wonderful stylist in Boston. Contessa, who's here in Rhode Island, who's a
Is
life coach
very positive.
and an organizer and a beautiful soul, and will help you make connections all over Rhode Island if they're deserved. So,
And again, like I get and people say that about Boston too. Everybody says
yeah,
that
for
Boston's
sure.
very clicky. I didn't even feel that when I was growing up that it was clicky, but I get it. I get it when people say it because people have their friend groups. That's just it, and they have the people that they feel more connection with. We can drop this, but yeah,
Yeah.
I get
And
it. But you have to get in where you fit in.
whitewashed is also crazy. You just haven't met the right Black people. So, on
Mm,
that note, maybe go to some events at the end of this pod. I'm going to mention some events that
yeah,
are
you got
coming
a
up
list.
in Rhode Island and in Boston. Maybe Boston is your scene. Maybe Rhode Island is not your scene, but it's just a 45-minute drive to maybe meet some Black people in Boston, or even the other way in Connecticut who might serve you while you live in Rhode Island. But anyway, so what else do we wanna talk about? Do we wanna talk about Chester W. Barrows Elementary School?
Go ahead, sis.
So I was out last week, so I couldn't talk about it last week. But apparently at the Barrows Elementary School, out here in Rhode Island, there was a teacher who was taken away by the police, um, on charges of cocaine possession. And apparently, what went down, and the teacher's name, which is public information, is Stephanie Cicelyne Given. And so
Because you know who her brother is.
I don't.
Representative, well, he's no longer the representative. Gabe Amo took his spot. David Cicilline is her brother.
Oh, I did not know that.
No, you
Hmm. The plot thickens. So the way this went down is that apparently in the nurse's bathroom, which is a bathroom used by students and staff in, I guess, possibly the public too, a bag of cocaine was found. I don't know why I'm laughing because this is not funny at all,
mm,
especially with children having access to this bathroom. The reason I'm chuckling is because when it was reported and the police came, they did an investigation and they found that the last known adult in that bathroom, because this is an elementary school, so we're hoping it's not the kindergartners and the 10-year-olds. The last known adult in the bathroom was Stephanie Cicilline Given. And she appeared nervous and denied knowing anything about the cocaine, but she continued to ask if they had found her vape pen in the bathroom. And she was acting nervous and acting weird. And she kept asking about her vape, which in and of itself is like, ma'am, you're being accused of possibly possessing a bag, not
mm,
a few grams, a bag of cocaine, and you're worried about your vape. So I'm now wondering what was in the vape and what was the story with that. But they ended up arresting her on suspicion that she is the owner of the bag of cocaine.
mhm.
Elementary school in Rhode Island.
So the crazy part about that is in the story, it also tells that they interviewed other teachers.
Yes.
I think they were going for like second interviews of these teachers. And then she came in and she said, well, I don't want these. these teachers to be blamed for this, it definitely was not theirs. So they're like, okay, well,
Right.
how do you know it definitely was not theirs? And then she was still denying it that it was hers, but she was saying, but it's definitely not theirs. So she didn't want her coworkers to get in trouble for her foolishness, but she wasn't trying to own up to it. And
Yeah.
denial, and it's very comical in a sense, but and she does have a history of, substance abuse anyway, so that's they basically arrested her after she was insisting that it wasn't the coworkers, that it just appeared there. No, she didn't say that. But basically,
Girl,
if it's not
girl,
theirs, then you're the only one left, ma'am. You're the only.
girl, she should have pled the fifth. She should have just pled the fifth on that one because she did not do herself any favors. And you should not judge a book by its cover, but her mugshot was given guilty. I don't
It was
know
given
anything.
meth. It was given
It was it was definitely given
a
you
lot of
dabble.
so
Yeah, you dabble. Yeah.
I felt bad. I mean, I
I
feel
feel
bad
bad for
for
the
people who have substance.
children
Yeah,
because this is what's going on in their schools. I mean, here recently, there was another incident where a teacher had a relationship with a student at one of the high schools. I think it was the PE teacher had a sexual relationship with one of the students, and some woman on the city council was arguing like we need to get rid of this person, and they were giving her a hard time to get rid of the teacher. So this is like Rhode Island stuff. Yeah, and I'm sure it
and
happens
it's
all
not just
over,
Rhode
but
Island stuff. Unfortunately,
yeah.
like I said, we talked about this the other night at book club. I said that there are plenty of people out here pushing the normalization of older men dating young girls.
So I think that was a woman, that teacher.
Just as disgusting. Older women dating. And that makes it even, and sometimes I feel like that makes it worse
Yeah.
because when it's a guy, you see how all those people are like, why are you making this a big deal or whatever? And then guys get, applauded for having sex with a teacher or someone, much older. And they don't see that as detrimental to their mental health. They don't see that as abuse to their mental health. They see it as a notch on his belt, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's still a damn
Yeah.
kid. When you listen to stories about, and I hate to bring up Diddy or whatever, but when, Usher would talk about the stories of how he would see women having sex, and that was part of like supposedly his initiation into the business. That's not good. That's not healthy.
So you bring up Usher because I think we're done here with the elementary school thing until
Yeah.
unless we get an update. We don't know. But speaking of Usher,
Hmm.
did you hear that Usher and Justin Bieber got into an altercation that possibly got physical at a post-Oscar party? I think was Jay-Z hosting the party? I forget who was hosting the party, but they definitely got into a verbal altercation, but it may have also gotten physical between Usher and Justin Bieber, who were very close co-workers at one time
Yeah.
in the music industry, especially when they were young. So the word on the curb is that Bieber has been rude, quote unquote rude, to Usher, and then Usher confronted him, and then mayhem ensued. So I get a feeling that this is Diddy related. I just get a feeling it's related to something having to do with their experience under Bad Boy.
Now, I know I did see a video which to me looked AI, and I think a lot of people said it was AI because you got Beyonce in the background as they're tussling, like that, and I'm like, "Ugh, that don't look like Beyonce." But they very well could have had this real argument, and then somebody created this AI version of it. So I don't know. But again, he would be within his rights to be angry with Usher. You put me in front of a pedophile, and like Usher should be mad at his people who put him at the feet of a pedophile. So I get it. Somebody has to, stand up and say something at one point. I feel like in this day and age right now, there is a narrative being pushed about young people being with older adults and that it's okay. And
Yeah.
we're living in a society where that middle state is really trying to say that, a 12-year-old girl can consent to having sex with a 25, 30, 40-year-old man in marriage. So we got to be careful about how we speak, even if it is a teacher who is a woman and the kid is a guy and he's a student. We really have to be careful about the language because I think all of us are, subconsciously getting used to that and
And I
making it a norm now.
I I need to really look back on the article, and I could be wrong, but I almost got the feeling that the teacher was female and the
Mhm.
student was female. I almost feel like they're both,
Mm,
which is something we don't always see in these types of reporting.
same
So
thing
either way, it's inappropriate.
either way.
Even if, let's say, the student was 18, I don't even know how old the kid is.
Mm,
Let's say it's a senior and they're 18 and it's the teacher. You're just not supposed to do that. That's just off the table. There's a relationship boundary there between faculty and students that should not be broken in a sexual manner. Like, it's just inappropriate. Even like students going to college and sleeping with their professor. I know that's fantasized a lot about, but it's just not the right thing to do. You shouldn't, as a teacher with students, you should never take advantage of your students in that way because they're young, they're vulnerable, and you should, as an adult, should, make better decisions. But yeah, I mean, I find a lot of the times these things happen and then we don't get the follow-up story. You have to
yeah,
dig and
you
dig
have
and
to dig.
dig to find out what happens because the news cycle is just like, what's next in the
Yeah,
news cycle? They're not so much interested in following up, or it gets buried maybe on purpose. But
yeah.
yeah, just your child can't even go to the bathroom at school. I don't even know what to say about that. But
I know because someone was arrested and their trial was last week, I think, for setting up cameras in
yes, that was a student.
Rhode Island College. It was a student
It
that
was an 18-year-old student and he did it in the men's room
I thought he did it in the women's room at Rhode Island College.
at Rhode Island College. He did it in the men's room, and because all the people they interviewed were male students because it was put in the men's room.
Okay. All right. Wow.
Yeah.
Whew,
It's the
people are
wild it's
just
the
out
Wild
there.
West out here. It's the Wild
Mhm,
West out here.
mhm.
You
Be
just
afraid. Be very afraid.
just use the bathroom at home. I don't know.
Oh, that's so gross. Anyway, I do before you go into your list of things to do,
Yes.
so we let all the black and the white people know there are so many
And the
to
Asians,
do.
and the Latinos,
There's
and the
so
Indians.
many things to do in Rhode Island. I do wanna go, talk about this one quick story that was in the Globe this week. This young man was cleaning out his grandmother's house, one of those old Roxbury homes, and he found an original freedom paper belonging to one of his ancestors. Did you see that?
I actually shared it with Natasha Mason
Oh,
the other
really?
I
Yeah.
texted it to her, and she was,
Mhm.
like, so grateful. I don't know if she was gonna start, like, but she likes things like that. She
Yeah.
likes family history, and I do too. I love, like, family lineage and history,
Mhm.
especially Black history, so that is so deep.
It
That is
is.
so deep and so powerful, and I'm excited that
Mhm.
because a lot of times we have difficulty going back and
Mhm.
finding our ancestral roots because of slavery and because of the upheaval that occurred, even just the migration from the South to the North. A
Mhm.
lot of times documentation gets lost
Mhm.
for African Americans.
So it was issued in 1834 and it was passed down and stored in his family. So it was issued nearly 200 years ago to a 21-year-old Samuel Jones in Baltimore County, Maryland. And it was signed
Aw.
by a court official certifying that Jones was born free. So when he started to travel, that's why he got this documentation certified so that he can travel if he was going to be away from his family.
Yeah.
So it showed it. So he actually was going to bring it to the African American Museum in DC and then decided that he would show it to the Museum of African American History on Beacon Hill. And they were excited because they hadn't seen anything like that. And I just thought that his name was Aaron Hayes, and he actually works on the Green Line for the MBTA. But When I was reading the story, I thought it was going to be South End. I don't know why. Well, I do know why. Because historically, South End was, a place where a lot of free Black people lived. So
Mhm.
I thought it was going to be like in his grandmother's home in like a brownstone. But you know what? Who knows where it started? But I just thought that was actually, a great story to hear about and to have that type of documentation in your hand of your family and thinking we're about to celebrate 250 years this year and
Yes, of America,
Washington
yeah.
is 200, about 200 years old. That's
That's dope.
a lot of history.
And so, do you remember when I said I was going to a game night a couple of weeks ago
Mhm.
at someone's house? So, this person actually is originally from Texas and
Mhm.
moved here for work and for love and all that good stuff, and got married, bought a house in Roxbury, shout out to Roxbury,
Mhm.
off of Warren Street, and
Mhm.
found out that their house that they purchased was on the Underground Railroad,
I believe it.
and that there were compartments underneath the house, like tunnels,
Mhm.
basically, that have now been blocked. But that was literally part of the Underground Railroad where people were helping people escape slavery and hiding them in
And
these
I read
homes.
about that on specifically that area, Warren Ave, that a lot of those old houses have, I guess that feature to it. Yeah, that's awesome.
I in the house, and not only did they tell me the history of the home, they took articles and they framed them and used them as decor in their sitting room. So you could read the history of the home
Mhm.
and see the original photo of the home, how it looked in 18 whatever whatever when it was built, 30s I think it was
Mhm.
built. It was so powerful to see that and to see this person who's not from Boston
Mhm.
embrace
Brave that
not
history.
no yeah, Black history and Boston Black history. It
Mhm.
was it was such a beautiful experience. I was like, I was meant to come to this
Mhm.
game night. And it just reminds you that 250 years is not that long ago. And
Yeah,
so
yeah. No, it wasn't.
and we have to preserve documentation. So
Mhm.
things that we take for granted, like our birth certificate and our social security card, one day those are going to be artifacts that our, descendants will need to trace their history. Or you could write out your family tree. You can do an
Mhm.
ancestry.com and, get the connections made there. I've done, the different apps myself. It is important to remember and to know these things. So I love that. I love that story from Mr. Hayes, and I hope he continues to uncover more family history, and I encourage other people to do the same.
Yeah, I hope he gets a little bit from that museum too, because give
And
them.
and I'd rather it be here in Beacon Hill. I'd rather it be in Beacon Hill than down in DC where
Mhm.
there's no guarantee it's safe or
This
it,
is
it
true.
won't be buried again somewhere.
This is true.
So,
This is
yes.
all right. Go ahead, sis, with your.
So, for people who are feeling defeated and feeling like they just don't have any outlets in Rhode Island, here are some things that you could do in Rhode Island, and you can start doing them this week.
Mhm.
Little Rhodey Laugh Fest. You know I'm a comedy girl. I love me some comedy. Chelsea Handler, Jay Farrow, Garner Clark. I know I'm messing up her name. There's so many comics coming to. I believe John Mulaney might be coming to Rhode Island this weekend, and so many activities. There are trivia shows, are special rates at the Aloft Hotel that you can get if you want to stay for the weekend. So that's happening, and you can get tickets to individual shows, or you could get a pass that gives you carte blanche to all the events. And you can go look for Little Rhodey Laugh Fest on social media. That's this weekend. The following week, first week of April, first of all, shout out. We're going to be having Autism Awareness Month coming up soon in
Mhm.
August. We'll have another episode before that, but I got to shout out Autism Awareness Month in April. But we also have Real Housewives of Rhode Island. There's a watch party on April the 2nd at Snookers. Buns and Bites is actually going to be hosting that. So
Oh, yeah?
That should be fun and exciting. That's a Thursday night, and that's one thing to do. If you rather be in Boston on April 2nd and you're not a Housewives fan, come out to TEDx Roxbury's fundraiser. It will be at Bully Boy the same night, April 2nd. It's a Thursday night, and we are fundraising for TEDx Roxbury, which is going to happen on May the 2nd, 2026 at Roxbury Community College. Tickets are live for both the fundraiser and for TEDx Roxbury, so get it before we sell out. What else? I have one more thing. Oh, March 28th, if you want something else to do this weekend, Italy Consignment is having their kind of like anniversary party. They're going to be having just a little mixer. They invite people to come and look at all the great designer consignment. So if you're looking for thrifting on an elevated level, this is your spot. So Italy Consignment, it's in basically in Providence downtown. I'm going to post everything, so lots to do this week and many more exciting activities. And just continue checking our socials. I'm always posting stuff that you can do.
You know who I got tickets to go see?
Who?
Bill Burr.
I
Because he's
love
gonna
Dilbert.
be in Pawtucket, and I'm like, "Pawtucket?"
Yeah,
I
I love
I
that.
saw that. I'm like, "I don't have to go into Boston to see Bill Burr. I'm gonna buy some tickets."
I got my Jay Farrell tickets. I'll
Mhm,
be seeing him this weekend as part of the Laugh Fest. So, and I think Bruce is coming to Rhode Island too. We have
mhm,
some great comics and great artists that come through. And what I like about Rhode Island is we don't charge an arm and a leg to go see these acts. You
mhm,
can get a nice, like decent ticket for 20 something, $50. You're not breaking the bank to go
mhm.
see these acts. I love that about Rhode Island, and I definitely can't wait to see Jay Farrell again.
So, is that gonna be at P-PAC or one of the clubs?
It's gonna be at Comedy Connection.
Comedy Connection, okay.
Yeah, but there are some shows at PPAC. They're all over.
Yeah, because
They're
I
all
think,
over the
like,
city.
Malone what is his name? Not Maloney.
John Mulaney, who
Yeah, I
wrote
think
for
that's
Saturday Night Live, he's a in my opinion, he is a comic genius. That is my humble opinion.
really?
I love John Mulaney. That is my dude. And he's real to me, he's hilarious. I
I mean,
love
I've
him.
only seen his stand-up a few times. You watch stand-up way more than I do. I
I've
wouldn't have
seen all of them.
I wouldn't have put him in that category. Again, only a couple of times. To me, a person who I've watched all the time, of course, is Bill Burr. I love him.
Me
That
too.
that is he's one of those guys that I actually go to. Him and the guy from what's his name? Joshua, who we missed last year.
Oh, Josh Johnson, hilarious.
Brilliant, but he's so smart, and
Very, very
most
smart.
comedians are very smart. Don't sleep on the intelligence because they are usually very aware of what's going around in the world, and they just make it funnier. But yeah, I definitely want to see him again, and there's a couple of others that I've like follow online, but Bill Burr is like in my top 3 for sure.
Yeah, so we definitely want to hear from y'all. And Sheeta, I'm just this is just percolating, but I think we need to do a live this week.
Alive? Okay.
And
I
I
will say for this week, I probably can't. I have been like super busy every single night.
I
So
know you
it
are.
has been hard. It has been hard,
I know you
but
are.
I can speak in a live this week,
Here's why.
Tuesday.
We got to talk about The Bachelorette.
Uh,
And if we don't squeeze in the live this week, maybe we can address it next week on next week's podcast, but we have to talk about this.
You know who would be good to talk about this? My friend
Who?
Rose, because she
Bring
gets
it. Bring it.
all the
Bring it.
details.
Let's go.
Just grab her so she can just break down the whole story, like, 'cause she watches all of those.
Get her in here.
And
Get her in here.
she be sending me the videos.
Don't even
'Cause
watch
I
The
didn't even
Bachelorette.
know. I didn't know anything about this.
Drama,
Yeah,
drama. That's all I'm gonna say. Drama. And
alright.
I don't even want to talk about it anymore until we get Rose in the room.
Okay, let's see if we can do that on Tuesday.
Let's try. Let's try our best.
Alright. Well, we have reached our hour, and we will wrap it up, and on that, we will say have a great week. You can
Yes.
catch us where?
You can catch us if you'd like to watch on YouTube and on Spotify, as well as Apple Podcasts and iHeartRadio. And then socially,
I'm sorry. Go ahead, ma'am.
I was out for a week and forgot my lines. On social media, you can
Yeah.
find us on Instagram and Facebook.
Got another watch on. This one's working.
Ooh, okay, okay, watch with the battery in it.
With I know I gotta get the rest. I gotta get the rest. But anyway, have a great week. Enjoy some comedy. Find
Yes,
something to laugh about and
yes.
enjoy the time. So we will catch you next week or
Until
Tuesday
then, yes.
or Tuesday.